Hi guys, this is gsno.com and I'm here with a phone which may feel familiar to you. It's the Motorola Moto G86 Power. But wait, haven't you already tested the G86? Well, it's actually a secondary version of that phone with a larger battery. And this is actually a case applying on top of the phone, which is also green, just like the case, which is honestly sometimes a bit hard to remove. That's what the phone looks like. And that's the case it comes bundled with. As the name says, it has power in the name. It's supposed to be a battery phone. It has a huge battery by today's standards, and when I say huge, 6720 mAh. The regular G86 had a 5201, and it's time for a full review, mentioning that otherwise the specs are exactly the same, from the screen to the processor, RAM, micro SD, and speakers. Luckily, we have an extra here. We tested the G86 with 8 gigs of RAM, and here we have the G86 Power with 12 gigs. So there should be a performance boost. Or will it? Okay, so you're about to find out. Now, the price tag of this handset should be at around 250 or 300 euros in Europe. The design is obviously not that different compared to the G86. I mean, the general design format should be pretty much the same. Excuse me while I'm cleaning it up. As I said before, it's a gentle slope here for the camera area and a backside that imitates leather. It's supposed to be eco leather. It's actually silicone polymer. We have a plastic frame which is flat and obviously beefier than the G86 on account of the fact that it has a larger battery. It's plastic all around, as I said before, and measurements here are 8.7 millimeters in thickness and 195 grams, which to be honest is not bad considering it's a battery phone. The G86 was 7.8 millimeters and 185 grams, so only gaining 10 grams for a much larger battery is a trade-off I'm willing to do. The grip is fine, the frame is pretty well built, the phone is reasonably easy to handle, the bezels are not that big, and the camera cutout isn't very bothersome for me. So all in all, a pretty okay build. I should probably also mention that the device comes with IP69 certification. It can take being dunked in water, dropped gently, dust, extreme temperatures, vibrations, also sun radiation and all that. The case is included in the box. Just so you know, there's no charger in the box and nothing else. We even have military standard certification 810H. Now, we move on from the design to the screen. We have a quality screen here, the very same one that you got on the G86, the regular one, the non-power one. I'm going to put it to the test. It has pretty narrow bezels. It's a POLED 6.67 inches in diagonal, 120 Hz refresh rate, and Full HD Plus resolution, actually 2712 over 1220 pixels. So yeah, we also have another protection compared to the predecessor G85. This one is Gorilla Glass 7i. Pretty narrow bezels, as I said before, almost 90% screen to body ratio. I would say that we have pretty wide view angles, as you can see for yourselves. A pretty nice color palette on this OLED and quite solid contrast even in the full sunlight. You're going to be convinced by that by seeing our sister site results. So we achieved 875 lux units for this impressive G86 Power. Now, just so you know, the Moto G86, the regular one, the non-power one, we had 850. So what is the margin of error around the same area? 875, 87 spot from the hundreds of phones we've tested. Now, we surpassed Motorola H60 Pro for some reason, and Xiaomi 13T Pro and Galaxy A36, or even the iPhone 16e, which is actually not that bad. Of course, there are some extra settings and options available here if you want to mess around with the screen. All big phone makers will provide you the option of playing with the colors, so you can play with the refresh rate, of course. Colors can be set to vivid, natural, radiant. You can also change the color temperature. Now, if you go inside the phone, there will be a curiosity. India has a different processor compared to us. In Europe, we have a Dimensity 7300, also present on the G86. In India, it's 7400. Well, it's a 4 nanometer CPU with an octa-core setup, and this time we're getting 12 gigs of RAM. The non-power version had only 8, but there is more variation than you think in RAM. This is LPDDR4X, just so you know, and the storage is 256 gigabytes. And the good news is that we're also getting a micro SD card slot, which is quite nice. And another piece of good news is that you're not getting any throttling here. So if you're going to the benchmarks and if you're skipping straight towards the throttling test, you should be able to find it here. We have Antutu, Geekbench, PC Mark and all that. Let me just maybe find it here somewhere. So as you can see, this is the throttling test and we only lost about 10% performance after 15 minutes of running it, while major flagships can lose even more than 50%, and this is quite solid in my book. Now other time-worthy tests are this one, Antutu 10, 843,000 points. It's actually quite solid. The regular G86 had 667,000 points, and with this score we even surpassed the Google Pixel 9 regular version and Realme 14 Pro Plus. Honestly, not that bad. In Geekbench 6, in the multi-core test, we're just above the Motorola H50 Fusion and G75, once again not bad, while the special 3D Mark GPU benchmarks had us around the same level as the G86, above the Reno 13FS and Reno 13F from Oppo. All in all, a pretty solid result, and we also did not encounter any sort of overheating. 35.9 degrees Celsius in benchmarks and 35.2 degrees Celsius in games. Once again, no problem with the heat here. Now finally the selling point, battery 6720 mAh, while the regular G86 has a 5200. The charging is the same, 30 watts, no charger in the box, so yeah, there's that. You would expect quite the jump in performance, but not exactly. Of course, video playback is pretty impressive, of 29 hours and 40 minutes, while the G86 had 23 hours and 20 minutes, but still there are 23 phones above this one, including Honor Magic 7 Lite with 34 hours, even though they're not promoted as battery phones. We did surpass several flagships like OnePlus 13 and Find X8 Ultra, but I expected more. This actually was a bit of a disappointment, the continuous usage time, 14 hours and 37 minutes in PC Mark. Here, a usual battery phone which encounters something like, let's say, 18 hours, if not even 20. I see we have phones here going even past the 20-hour mark, and there's quite a few of them. If you look closely here, we have the Realme GT70, we have the Pixel 9a doing fine, Realme 14 Pro, Xiaomi 15, Realme 14 Pro Plus, and honestly, these days in Romania you can buy a Realme 14 Pro for a price similar to this one, and you get about 6 hours more continuous usage, so yeah, that's a problem. Charging is quite long, 1 hour and 26 minutes, and after 30 minutes you're at 45%, which should be decent for, I would say, 1 hour of work if you're using the handset at work. It has Smart Connect features, so it can do corporate stuff. Anyway, we surpassed Galaxy A36, but we score below A55 and A56 with this continuous usage result. On the acoustics front, even though it's supposed to be a lower mid-range affair, this handset delivers stereo speakers, one at the bottom and the earpiece at the top. There's an inscription here for Dolby Atmos. There's a promise for Dolby Atmos on the device, and we also get extra tweaks in the Moto application. When I say tweaks, I'm talking about going here and playing with the audio effects, spatial audio, smart audio, custom. Smart audio is here. You can also do the custom thing with the channels, extra voice, extra bass, extra treble, what have you. At the end of the day, I'm going to leave it to smart and actually listen to some tunes as we check out what it can do. Not a very powerful set of speakers and not much bass. The clarity will drop a bit and get some distortion if you turn it all the way to the max, so keep it at 70-80% if you want to be satisfied. We measure the volume power of the G86 Power, achieved 82 decibels with an acoustic sample at the top and 89.3 decibels at the bottom. Quite a difference between the two speakers, 7 decibels in favor of the bottom one. As you can see, we surpassed the Razer 50 and the Redmi Note 14 Pro 5G. The 105 spot on the among the 600 phones we've tested is not bad. The multimedia test had at 95.4 decibels, which is actually not that bad, even though usually we like to see it closer to 100 decibels rather than 90 decibels. So here we are at the middle of the ranking, above Motorola H50 Neo, Galaxy A36, and those are some of the more relevant ones, and OnePlus Nord CE5. That's about it as far as the acoustics are concerned. Let's talk about the camera. Now on the camera front, we have the exact same setup as the Moto G86 regular model. We have a dual back camera here with an extra sensor, and let's see everything that we're getting here. We have a selfie 32 megapixel camera, and at the back side we have a main 50 megapixel camera, f1.9 aperture, dual pixel PDF and optical image stabilization, and an 8 megapixel ultra wide camera with autofocus for your macro needs. There's also a third sensor here which is supposed to help with your color calibration and all that, plus the LED flash here. We have 4K capture here, and as far as I know we should also get 4K capture with the front camera, which is actually not that bad. Now, the camera interface is everything you've seen before on a Motorola over the past years, zero surprises, from the ultra res to the time-lapse, panorama, tilt shift, night vision, scan, phone boot and dual capture. There's a pro mode with raw capture, there's a portrait feature, photo with macro, zoom, 2x zoom and 0.5. And as I said before, these are the options you're getting here when it comes to the video, 4K 30, macro filming and slow motion, of course. Now let's see some samples. Okay, so first things first, I have to admit I'm actually quite pleasantly surprised by the pictures taken here by my colleague. They're actually quite crisp, vibrant and vivid. You can see some of them here, and we also have some nifty videos. To be honest, the colors are fine. I think that the secret here lies in the processing, which Google Photos also does, and yeah, I have to admit I was quite impressed. Just look at these roses and you'll see that they're quite cute. The colors are pretty well represented. They're perceived just as my eyes perceive them, so that's actually pretty nice, and the focus in close-ups was also quite decent. One drawback would be the fact that when you're using the ultra-wide camera, you're losing quite a bit of detail on the 8 megapixel camera, and of course you will not be able to see the leaves of the trees, but color-wise and processing-wise I'm actually quite impressed. There are times when this feels like, let's not say Google Pixel 9a, but maybe the 8a, which is actually quite shocking. The processing can do wonders. I know that some of the shots may feel a bit over processed here and there, and of course the zoom is not something to write home about at 2x digital with a crop from the main camera, but still above expectations from a phone which has power in the name. Back in the day when I tested battery phones, I expected a pretty bad camera from them, but nowadays I can get a quite decent camera. And to be honest, focus and close-up which even rival some much higher priced handsets. The stars of the show are the focus in close-ups. The selfies are also quite fine. I'm quite impressed by them. You can start a vlogging career and definitely post them on social media. So all in all, a pretty satisfying experience. Portrait shots are also worth your time. They're quite well focused and quite well highlighted compared to the background. So the only drawback at the end of the day remains the ultra-wide camera with its lesser details and some deformation here and there. Although the colors aren't half bad either on the ultra-wide as well. Those have been the daytime shots. Let's talk about low-light shots, which for some reason were taken first. Now here you will see some limitations which are inherent for a camera which doesn't have higher specs than Lithia 600. This is the Sony Lithia 600, and by the way, I looked up online and found that the third sensor is actually not for the color calibration. It's actually an anti-flicker sensor, so you will not have problems with the flickering lights when it comes to capturing low light scenario. So at night you're getting plenty of light, that's for sure, and the street light halos are not as overblown as I would have expected them to be. There are some moved shots here and there, and the focus doesn't fall as properly as it did during the day. When it comes to a very close-up or a macro. Decent selfies if you're turning on the screen to use as a sort of flash, but bokeh should do it. Once again, the highlight is the fact that even though you're getting bright signs for a variety of shops, this will not stop the camera from achieving good brightness and a decent size for the street halos, minus the ultra-wide where this tends to happen. Now, of course, in the yellow light, in the darker part of the streets where only the yellow light persists, you'll get an orange tint to the image, which I would say drips and muddies the whole picture. I would say that's pretty much it as far as the low light shots are concerned. More light than expected and a better handling of the light sources compared to my expectations. Now, in order to properly talk about the videos, we're going to go to collections, press videos. We have quite a few clips and let's take them one by one. First of all, this is the stabilization test, and in spite of what you're seeing here, the images tend to wobble. I mean, it tends to vibrate a bit, back and forth. I know you may not see it, but I watched this on a large screen, there's a bit of vibration. Now, the clarity is there, the colors are there, nothing to complain about. And speaking of colors, quite decently calibrated, a bit muted. They're not as vivid as on some other phones. People actually prefer them like that instead of being overly hyped. Pretty good selfie videos. You can definitely start a TikTok, Facebook, Instagram Reel, what have you. Decent focus and details, not bad. But the most shocking part of things, I recently tested a Xiaomi phone I'm not allowed to talk about yet because it hasn't been launched. It has a very poor focus, and I, with my own iPhone 16 Pro Max, I'm struggling with the focus. But this phone, this cheap phone, surprised me with its focus, speed and accuracy. Several more shots here. Walking around, once again the image is wobbly, it tends to vibrate a bit towards the center, but the colors and clarity are spot on in 4K, and of course the texture of the water is quite pleasant here. You can try some zoom, but don't go past 2 or 3x, you definitely drop some details. Of course, the low light scenario is the weakest, definitely limitations here, a lot of noise, the bleeding of the orange hue of the streetlights can be felt, and the focus also drops. Pretty big streetlight halos as well. It definitely feels like a more entry-level affair than a mid-range phone here. You cannot even perceive the writing in the letters on the luminous signs. That's that as far as the camera goes. Let's talk about connectivity. Once again, exactly the same recipe that we had on the Moto G86. Wi-Fi 6 dual band, 5G, nano SIM and eSIM, GPS, GLONASS, Galileo, BDS, QZSS and Navic, USB-C 2.0, NFC, Bluetooth 5.4, with A2TP and LE, and I think I didn't forget anything. And here we have the speeds. 5G up to 423 megabits in download and 63 megabits in upload, and Wi-Fi up to 337 over 375. I would say it's pretty decent, expected more from Wi-Fi, but that's what we got here. Now, the handset that we're holding here comes with Android 15, which is available here. You should get 2 years of Android updates. Honestly, I expected a bit more, and I'm surprised to see that the features, the productivity features, have trickled down even to the lower area of handsets. So we do have Motorola Unplugged, which only leaves the basic features if you want to disconnect and relax. But we also have Smart Connect, which is the opposite, lets you turn your phone into a webcam or hotspot for your PC. You can share the cursor of the mouse with a keyboard, with a tablet or a laptop. You can also do other things like share a clipboard, lock your PC, do the share hub, and you can also have your phone on the PC streamed. Other applications and features, you already know the famous Motorola Moto app with customization of the interface for themes, fonts, colors, icon shapes, layout, fingerprint animation, by the way, pretty solid fingerprint scanner embedded in the screen, fast, snappy and accurate. Aside from that, we have Moto Secure, which takes care of your security needs, which quite a few features. Security management, simplified, boosted protection. You have a secure folder. You have a pin pad protection. So as I said before, you're going to be using the pin pad scramble to mix up the numbers of your pin where inputting it, so someone cannot read it over your shoulder, and that's just some aspect. You have anti-scam protection, aircore protection, quite a few features. For the elderly, it's important, so their daughters and sons and nephews can configure the phones and avoid scammers and scams. Okay, so we also have family space. Speaking of your family, you can create a profile for the little one, for the elderly, see the little kid coming home from school, and impose limitations for parental control. I think this is pretty much it. There's even a gaming space, which you can see here, a game collection, game features and game recommendations. And if I were to start Asphalt now, I should have to tune down the volume, and this is Asphalt. And if you pull from the side, this is Moto Game Time with power control, RAM controls, block calls, notification, touch sensitivity, frames per second and performance mode. So even gamers are being taken care of. I think that's pretty much it. With a bonus, Perplexity is available here as a, I would say, assistant, which is geared towards learning and researching, not just Gemini, which is also available by doing this. And Gemini Live is part of the package. You can also turn up the volume and start talking to it, so you can respond various things. You can share the camera with it and the screen. And of course, there's a circle to search. You can circle something on the screen, find out information about it, recognize the song, or translate everything that's available on the screen. Okay, so we're at the end of the review. What can we say about the Moto G86 Power? It's a battery phone, but my expectation was a bit higher when it comes to continuous usage. On the pro side, it's a very comfy phone for a battery phone, pretty skinny and light. It's very grippy, the back and the frame. We also get a case in the box. IP69 certification, military standard, very resilient, quite a bright screen, micro SD card slot, plenty of RAM, quality selfie camera, good colors for the back camera and decent details in the filming. Close-ups were surprising. We have Wi-Fi 6 compared to the predecessor. Pretty nice video playback time for the battery and okay performance overall. This is the Pro. On the cons, well, expected more from the battery, no charger in the box, not very fast charge. The stabilization in the video isn't exactly top-notch. I would also say that software support is limited at only 2 years. We have USB-C 2.0 and LPDDR4X RAM, and yeah, that's about it. I would also add to the pros the Smart Connect feature and the smart features in general. Now, at the end of the day, keep in mind you can get a better phone than this one with a similar processor and larger battery life. It's the Realme 14 Pro. The price is very similar, perhaps cheaper, you get 3 years of updates and the body that changes color. But you have 4 gigs less of RAM. And this is Motorola, which was owned by Google at some point, so you're definitely going to get some cool software here. At the end of the day, if you're watching a lot of videos during your commute, this is the phone for you. And honestly, the camera went above my expectations. This feels like a Pixel 8a Lite. That's the conclusion. Google Pixel 8a Lite is this one. Or even 9a Lite at its best times, but does not exaggerate the camera features. That's it from us. Goodbye.